Welcome to November's edition of This Month in Cybersecurity. It actually should be titled November and December, since this is the last one for the year. I know that brings tears to everyone's eyes, but we don't run a December one because I think being the last Tuesday of the month, it's probably like the 27th, and we'd hope to get one or two people tops during that time frame. All right, like we do every month, we cover off the we kind of try and base our discussions and our 4 newsworthy items from the month of November based to the NIST cybersecurity framework, which has about 5 tenets. We pictorially do it that way as well as this way. One of the reasons I like this method is it shows detection kind of right at the heart of things, right? If you're not actively seeking what's going on in your environment through detection mechanisms, meaning log reviews and consoles and looking as to what's going on, that seems to be right at the heart of things accurately in this picture. Secondly, on the left-hand side, there's prevention techniques, which a lot of people focus on trying to protect their domain and their data, and that's logical to do so, but equally you need to think about what happens if that data is gone or leaked or accidentally was sent or money was transferred or ransomware occurs. What are you going to do? What are your response and recovery plans? So those are a couple reasons that we like this model of the cybersecurity framework also. All of that said, let's take a look at the month of November and what we had. And I think first and foremost, what we had is this big storm. Ironically, this isn't going to be a news story because I think this was probably covered. People are probably sick of seeing this storm, right? They're still got the shovels just put away yesterday and are still coming out of the deep freeze thaw. But I thought a bit of irony that the storm was called Storm Bruce, right? Our first named storm of the year. So we're all happy to say goodbye to Bruce at this point, and I don't take offense if you were telling it, if you were yelling things at the storm and the TV screen as it went on. But that just kind of lays the backdrop for our true 4 stories for this month, which will be all around our holiday, right? Our holiday oftentimes, consists of a lot of nostalgic items, things like, whether they be trees or menorahs, depending on your religion. But long story short is this is the holiday season, and certainly a portion of it is generating a list of things that you would like to maybe go purchase for others, right? This is the season of giving. So we're going to talk a little bit about lists and where some of the dangers are in that. We're going to talk a little bit about money, and specifically mobile money. After all, I think mobile phones are increasingly becoming a method for how we're paying for things. We're going to discuss a little bit about shopping. We're going to teach you how to shop like a pro for this holiday season, amongst other things. And then last but not least, we're going to discuss getting the packages to your house includes shipping, right? And we're going to talk about some concerns in the shipping department. So this holiday themed This Month in Cybersecurity begins now, and we'll begin with the list, right? So everyone needs to have making a list, checking it twice, right? That's sort of the old adage, and there's a lot of good ideas, come from things we see, right? How do we get ideas for what we want to purchase for other people? It used to be maybe looking at the Sears catalog or the Sears holiday book, as they called it back then. And that kind of gave way over the years as Sears has its issues to the Toys R Us magazine. Well, Toys R Us magazine, as we're all aware, was not distributed this year due to their bankruptcy filing and liquidation. And now this year we get the Amazon catalog. So, certainly those are methods to look for things. But in addition, we kind of get inspired in our modern and mobile way, but just, looking at Google, right? Look at how they make money. They make money through web advertising and through offers and web pages, banner ads, pop-ups. Even traditional mail catalogs can still come to us, but we also get bulk email and so forth. So, and users oftentimes use some of the key retailers, and so I guess our source for this month is using the Better Business Bureau stories, which was published here in November of 2018. That'll be referenceable as a link in the recording as well as in the PDF that we share on our website after this. But you can look up the story and kind of get their 12 ideas as to how to, how to create lists. Lists is one of the 12 areas they identify as problems this season. But what we have going on is lists oftentimes get generated even using Amazon services, right? You have wish lists, or Target and Walmart, other retailers. They have this list, and what ends up happening here is a perfect storm for hackers. We've got a cart kind of shiny packages and things that people want to purchase. We oftentimes share these lists with certain people, right, that we would love to purchase that. We either share it openly or we share it with certain personnel, usually via email address. These are the people that need to have access to my list. So we have a relationship, which is another shiny gold coin, if you will, for hackers. We have shoppers typically that are panicked, right? They've got lots to shop for, not much time. They're kind of in a frazzled situation. And you throw in a mix of people that are looking for deals, right? Oh man, they're offering the special deal on this object that I wanted to buy for Johnny, who I'm related to, right, in some way, a friend or family or otherwise. So all of that being the perfect storm. And so if you can see who it's shared with, you might be even more receptive to buy something that's 30% off. So those lists can be that perfect storm, and it makes us, and there's been some compromises, as talked about in that Better Business Bureau article, about Amazon, Target, Walmart, and other lists being something that people want to get access to, because for hackers, that's a dream, right? Who does this person know? What is it they want? And making those people more receptive to phishing emails, especially when a big discount is offered on an item that they want. So the solution for something like this oftentimes is technology, and Microsoft would certainly tout, and does so in an article, again, that's referenced at the bottom, about how their technology is now 99.9% effective on resolving phishing. Okay? And they're going to tell you, and I'm going to breeze through this, but they're going to tell you about how they, even if you send your mail through a competitive scanner first, then it gets to their system, they're able to catch things that other people weren't. They'll also tell you that, of the numerous mechanisms they use to find these phishing emails, including human personnel as part of their analyst team that are looking for these emails and basically eradicating them, knowing that, some 30,000 phishing emails actually get sent and received into inboxes on a daily basis, 30,000 different types. Microsoft is able to find all of those. And so, Microsoft can tout their own effectiveness with regards to this. And our finding is generally, during this holiday season, that technology is an awesome piece of the puzzle. And in fact, it's a very important piece of what we call the three-legged stool. And hopefully, if you've been on webinars with us before, you've seen this, and this isn't new to you. On the left, people. In the middle, process. And on the right, technology. And so email scanning is a very important piece of the technology puzzle. And I think, I still have the percentages on there. We kind of think of technology as 40% of the equation, right? So as good as Microsoft is, and as good as you are in implementing multi-factor authentication, hopefully on key applications and so forth, that solves 40% of some of today's traditional phishing problems. Over on the left-hand side, though, I want us to just kind of focus back, especially as we're coming off October, which was Security Awareness Month, focus on the people side of things. And on the people side of things, I'd remind you that there are solutions out there for helping users, learn about what they shouldn't be clicking on, right? And we'll talk about some things even today about like the keys in web browsers and things of that nature. We have ways to run monthly phishing campaigns and progressively get more and more challenging, so people can get more educated about what not to click on and what's safe and what's not, and provide content and customized training, if you will, based on videos people should be watching if they're failing test results often. And looking at trends and so forth. And so we deliver that as a service, $5 per user per month, and we find it to be a pretty effective way to kind of move an organization along that path. And if you're interested in kind of biting on the hook, if you will, just a little bit, for free initially, we do have a free phishing test trial available on our website. to kind of round out, helping out with regards to list management. Number 2 area is the money area, and I should have labeled this number 2, but it's not. But we're going to call this SIM swap for crypto money. And so as you're generating money for purchasing all of these items, we're going to find that, what was the stats I was saying? Okay, so back in 2017, on Black Friday of 2017, so this goes back 1 year ago. So in 2016, in December, it was 11% of purchases were made on mobile phones. In 2017, 1 year ago, it was 40%. We're going to be up in the 50 or 60% of transactions this year are made through a mobile device. Okay? That's where purchases are being made. The trends are there. So your mobile device is ultimately going to purchase something this holiday season, based on statistics. So let's show you some of the things that are going on in mobile devices and with currency. And obviously that can be a very broad conversation. We're going to zero in on a particular story. Let's see if I have this referenced. I think I do on the next slide. So bear with me. But this comes from Krebs for Security. We're talking about effectively how phones are being used, especially against those that are using cryptocurrency. So down below is a story where Christian Ferry, president and CEO of a cryptocurrency firm called Blockstar out in San Francisco, went through basically a SIM swap, which we've talked about in prior months. His phone, he happened to be traveling in Europe at the time, and his T-Mobile was his provider, and effectively, suddenly his phone stopped working. And if you'll recall, a few months back, I talked about how my phone one day stopped working, and then I learned that my son and my wife's phone actually stopped working too. And that's immediately cause for concern, and not just because maybe you have a bad SIM card, which could be the case, but equally, it could be that someone back at T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T or other providers have been tricked into providing the SIM card to someone else and effectively deactivating yours and swapping it out to someone else. While it's inconvenient for you as a phone user, ultimately on the back end, think about what your phone could be used for. In this case, the SIM was swapped into a phone, and that was used to do a password reset for Christian Ferry's Gmail, unbeknownst to him. That Gmail password change then allowed them to get into the Google Docs, to which his Google Docs had information on his Bitcoins and some of the passwords and other things that he had, which allowed him creds to get into his cryptocurrency. He lost $100,000 that day. Okay, and now he is, president and CEO of a firm, and I guess one of the things I wanted to point out on the next slide is this type of activity this cycle where creds are being used through a SIM swap is not just about stealing millions from millionaires, kind of as the bottom item there says. Those are the ones that arrive to the news, and those are the ones, the story I just told, but these are folks that are out in California, which seems to be a hotbed of where the SIM swaps are occurring. In fact, that's where my SIM swap had occurred from, was a Best Buy in Santa Clara, California, exactly where these people are located. So it does seem to be highly located in California, finally something that's not coming from overseas. So great. These people are being highly impacted, and right now it seems like they're focused on people that are involved. If you're heavily invested in cryptocurrencies or even minorly invested, they're oftentimes looking for people that are in that space. This is done effectively. I guess I can read you the SIM swapping happens in one of three ways. Either the attacker, so think of this person in California, bribes or blackmails a mobile store employee into assisting in the crime. Okay, so that's one way. Number two is either they're a current or former mobile store employee who abuse their access to customer data. Think of that, right? Someone with a $12 an hour job holds the keys to the castle for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're working at the phone store making $12, someone offers you $400 to do a SIM swap. Seems like a sweet deal. And the third way is crooked store employees actually trick unwitting associates at other stores into swapping a target's existing SIM card with a new one. So in either case, it's very much hinging on the human factor typically involved with mobile stores or customer service at some of these major reps. At this point, there's probably tens of thousands of legitimate SIM swaps that are occurring per day. And what we're trying to catch are the 100, right, that are likely fake ones. And so it's a difficult job. It's taking some time. There's not a lot of technology around it. It's a human problem, things of that nature. Meanwhile, we're feeling the effects of these SIM swaps. And I guess I wanted to just kind of close this out by reminding us of what our phone can be used for, right? Our phone is used not only for mobile payments, and obviously there's a lot of methods for payment. There's Google Pay and iPay and things of that nature. What we're talking about here is also its capability to act as a second factor for maybe your work account, maybe for your bank account, cloud services. There's obviously personal data that could be stored on the device. There's who you know through your contacts and otherwise that's stored in there. So the phone can be a great source of MFA, and I think putting MFA in is kind of step one. Some of the advice that we're seeing out of this is don't leverage SMS-based multi-factor authentication, meaning text codes to a phone is something that's very easy once they have your SIM card to be able to get in, right? And they can still get that SMS text now to their phone that's now in California and log in as you. Better are things like Authenticator apps and other things. So we're chatting a fair amount about that, and for the solution, I guess I'd point out that what we have and what we've been implementing with our customers is we have a kind of a boxed up, hey, let's go implement multi-factor authentication as a proof of concept within your organization. Let's use the technology you own, either Office 365 or if you own it, Enterprise Mobility Suite. Let's look at where you'd like to implement MFA, for what applications, for what people. Let's look at what conditions you want that MFA to enact during. Do you want it when they're outside the office? Do you want it when they're on an iPad? Do you want it for certain applications or certain people? And let's make sure that they have a good experience down the bottom right. Let's make sure we're not using poor choices for multi-factor authentication, such as SMS. Let's also take a look at those knowledge-based authentication, which we'll talk about shortly, but those password questions, those can be the information about you is pretty well known. Your mother's maiden name is no secret any longer. And so strictly knowledge-based authentication might be a poor choice too. So in any case, our solution helps you navigate the waters here, make sure that you have a good solution for MFA. This was our specific offer is Office 365 multi-factor authentication for a proof of concept with some of the factors that are laid out there. All right, so that kind of wraps up number 2, which was our mobile money. Number 3 is shopping, and for this we referenced a couple stories down below. Again, both of those come from Kurt Krebs also, who happened to have some good stories in November here about how to shop like a security pro and who's in your online shopping cart. Some statistics I'd throw at you. Here in the Apple Store and in Google Play, you would find that 5.5% of the results when you do searching for stores where you can make purchase, 5% of those applications are malicious apps designed to skim credit card numbers, provide adware, malware, or mobile ransomware. Okay, so the advice is choose the most popular and highly rated versions of apps. Okay, if you're hearing that there's a great deal, right, if you can just download this app that you probably haven't heard of, but wow, it's a backdoor deal, download our app and bring it, there's a very good chance that those apps are not very worthwhile. Okay, so that's kind of one piece of advice. Second piece of advice comes under, and this is kind of a way that presents itself. There are a number of websites that, especially this time of year, get injected with malicious code. Okay, well, what does that mean to the average shopper? Well, this malicious code means that where I'm entering credit card information, that information can be siphoned off to somewhere else. And if you feel like people are on top of this, I'm sure the people that are producing these websites know all about it and know for a fact that the following 3 sites, Newegg, British Airways, and Ticketmaster, presumably organizations with a fair amount of security protocol and capabilities, were all hacked recently in this regard. And specifically, there's a piece of malware called MageCart, and MageCart is the code. It's basically 12 lines of code that get injected into websites given the proper credentials. They inject it into the websites, and essentially looking for credit card information and siphoning it off to a nefarious group. And it's gotten so prolific on these websites that one group is actually taking another group. So group 9 is taking group 3's code, altering it just a little bit. So group 3 gets blamed for it, but group 9 gets the money. In any case, interesting information down in the articles that were referenced at the bottom. And that's kind of your second area is be careful where you're shopping. Know that malicious code is out there. There were some additional tips provided in the article. And then I thought in the How to Shop Like a Security Pro, there was some sage advice for this season in terms of what to do. I'm not going to go through all of them, but certainly check them out. Right, number 1 there, if you're looking at a website and possibly contemplating purchasing, let's say, pizza from a local delivery location, you may want to check out, is it who's the business owner? How much revenue do they have? Maybe when was the website created? Things like that. Under the padlock, number 3 there, a lot of people think that the little key in a web browser means that the site is secure. In fact, in a recent poll, 80% believe that green indicates legitimate and or safe. In fact, all the green means is that there's a key, and it means your conversation is encrypted from your device to the website. But it has nothing to do with the legitimacy of the website. In fact, up from 25% to this year 50%, all malware sites are HTTPS. So the key means nothing. And in terms of solutions for this area, we just going to go back to the good old technology, right? The ATP that we talked about earlier, its capability to help evaluate attachments and links that are coming into your email. And most importantly, to protect anti-impersonation, right? So that people that you're anticipating getting emails from are really the people that you mean. And it does so by evaluating who you know and who you might be expecting emails from. And again, this is the part that, from a technology perspective, is 99% effective if deployed and used. The fourth and final story for this month is around shipping, right? And there's lots of things going on in the shipping department. We got to get those packages here, and good old postal service is typically where we trust. And in a referenced article about this, we would point to 2 stories. One is about USPS Informed Delivery, which is a new service, maybe a year and a half, 2 years old. In fact, I also was signed up for this. Creates images of the mail that is coming to your mailbox. And as you can only imagine, the USPS did not do a great job of implementing this. Scammers were basically able to sign up for the service on behalf of you, find out, basically they'd order credit cards in your name and then see when those credit cards were specifically being delivered so they can go to your mailbox, pick up the credit card, activate it, and start charging under your name. So the service was being used in that way. There were just a number of gaps in USPS implementation of this. If you signed up for the service for your mailbox, a second person or a third person could be signed up under your account for also to be informed, and it would never tell the original person that a change was made to the account. They've fixed that, but that was just one of the gaps. It just got fixed a few months ago. So. And also now, if you'll see a number in the middle of that graphic there, it's a little hard to read likely on your end, but they're actually starting to do advertising in that email that you get on a daily basis, showing you what's in your mailbox. And those emails are starting to get injected with malicious URLs. So a little bit of a disaster. I've unsigned up for informed delivery. I don't know how much protection that provides me, but that's kind of one of the areas that has been noted. And of course, USPS has another service called Informed Visibility, which essentially allowed retailers to see through an API to this informed delivery service to look at the data regarding it and who was getting these messages, how often was this mail being delivered. And this API effectively had a lot of gaps in the API where authentication, once authenticated, you were allowed to use wildcard characters to see all kinds of data. And this has been open for about a year. They just learned of it and closed it down, but the API was wide open, didn't require authentication. I think another example they provided was some fields even in your record. So if you had a USPS account, some fields such as, let's say, your address could be modified without notification back to the original owner. There was no email confirmation, if you will, back there. So so many things may have been changed under UPS accounts. So those are our Ford stories. You know, sorry to bring things to a downer, but I think it's careful for us to be cautious as we walk through this holiday season. Again, as a reminder, we've got our lists, our money, our shopping, and our shipping, and all four of them I think could use a good dosage of smarts and good technology to kind of help. So to those regards, you know, if you need help from a strategy perspective, we have an offer for vCISO Jumpstart. If you're interested in testing your organization from a phishing perspective, we have a free trial there. And if you're interested in looking at how you're set up from an Office 365 perspective, we have a security audit free trial also. So those are a couple offers. We're always happy to take a meeting. We'll even buy the coffee. Know that we have a couple events coming up. Again, to reiterate, we don't have a This Month in Cybersecurity in December, but we do have an in-person event on December 4th. We would love for you to attend. This is your one chance and one chance only in this holiday season to get fish, chicken, or steak instead of turkey. We're hosting that at Ditka's, and look forward to hosting you if your time allows. We also have a webinar event on Power Apps on December 12th. As mentioned every time, we have a number of blogs that we blog about. I put up our most recent 3 there. Again, these are, you know, if we get 10,000 visits a month on our website, 80% of that is to our blogs. Some of our blogs get 50 to 100 reads a day. So we're saying some good things. We'd love for you to participate and kind of develop a relationship with you. That's really it for the month of November/December. And if there's any questions, happy to take them.